Welcome, welcome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the NFC Roundtable. Uh, Andy, how you doing today?
Tradition. I'm doing excellent.
Championship week.
We of course covering. We are of course covering the latest and greatest and the just with the Bears. This is Bears talk all the time. So
Yeah, we're gonna start this off-season talk, I guess. We'll bring in Green Bay, who's joined the off-season last week. I joined it this week. Bears joined it when they started the season. But Brian, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing fantastic.
So, what are your thoughts, man?
The crazy week it has been up in Green Bay after such a disappointing loss. Obviously, the biggest cameras on what will Aaron Rodgers do. This morning, a report came out saying that Rodgers and the front office had meetings this week discussing the future of the team and the direction they're going to go. And they have been tabbed as saying they are cautiously optimistic that the quarterback had left the meeting feeling pretty positive in saying he will return. However, with the coaches that have been lost due to the Bears stealing a coordinator, congratulations, Andy, and the offensive coordinator going to Denver, this could be an interesting situation that unfolds because Aaron always likes trust, and if you've seen historically how angry he gets when one of his people that he likes gets dealt away or obviously moves on from the organization, he ends up doing some things. So it's going to be, the next few weeks is going to be interesting to see what will pop up in terms of, Aaron's future, basically. And then the other thing is obviously the salary cap problem. They are $44.5 million over the cap. They've got some major decisions to address, especially if they are going to plan on having Aaron as quarterback to basically try and make one more run at a Super Bowl next year. It's going to be a very difficult task to try and money manage, especially with the Packers organization. It's going to be interesting. I'm a little nervous about it. I'm kind of in this mode personally where I feel like the end is here and the rebuild's going to start, and then the Jordan Love era is going to start.
Yeah, we'll touch on that later. I don't want to take too much of time. We got to get Mike in here. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm good, man.
You good? So
living the dream.
I mean, off season already, man. I guess we can bring in
Quinn stand. There we go. We don't have to. I mean, we really don't.
Jerry, what's going on, man?
Off season? What are we talking about off season for? We're still playing football.
Dude, you're muted.
No, I'm not. Good try.
Niners still in the dance, man. How?
What do you mean how?
I mean, how? I mean, what's the recipe? They've got the Rams number, yeah?
Yeah, last 6. I love watching McVay get interviewed and asked what he's going to do, and you see him just boiling of them asking him the question of, like, how are you going to finally beat Shanahan?
So, got one game to cover today. A lot going on, though. Chicago, right? I mean, what's going on up north there, Andy?
Well, we got a couple of things going on. The new GM, our new GM, Ryan Pace, of course. Now, from what I remember reading, he had a big influence on hiring the new head coach here, who, of course, is Matt Eberflus. And so far what we have is one major one major pickup is also the offensive coordinator, as Brian was talking about, Mr. Packerbacker. We got his their quarterbacks coach, a fellow by the name of Geddes, I believe it is.
Getsy.
So that's actually kind of an interesting scenario because you can do one of two things. Now that they know how their offense is going to be able to kind of sort of tick, are we going to be able to go in and somehow readjust our defense to be able to actually prevent that offense from scoring 30 points? Then it's also one of those. It's also again one of those things where you're looking like, okay, well, you need to be able to develop you're hopefully your franchise quarterback for the next 15 years. So you're going to have to be able to not only get something. You not only have to get somebody who's going to be able to come in and actually work with Justin Fields, and also to be able to actually get him to adjust to that new system, but then also be able to score 30 points ourselves and be able to, defense with the new head coach having a defensive background to be able to prevent everybody else from scoring more, essentially what it is. But then you still have, of course, the unfortunate, in my opinion, that is, the unfortunate idea that Ted Phillips still has some sort of control within the Bears organization, and of course, Bears ownership. Are they going to have some sort of a major influence with anything? Now, from what I remember reading, our friend Mr. Poles has actually sort of, I guess, I don't want to say he's stipulated. I don't know what his contract says, but I think he's trying to be a little bit more strong-handed within his decision-making, which I think would always be something that's potentially going to be able to take Phillips and McCaskey out of the mix, which would be a good thing. So that's currently what we have on the Bears front currently.
So I don't know what happened to Mike. He kind of fell off, I think. Hopefully he jumps back in here. With the Bears, they bring back, a former player, undrafted free agent in Poles. I mean, how long do you think the Bears are going to ride with Pole?
I thought it was interesting that they went and got a guy with no experience.
I think it's hilarious that they hired another Matt and Ryan.
Yeah, I remember reading that too.
George saying Ryan, Matt are our football guys.
They just had a recording. It just made it easier. It also saved the money for name tags.
Yeah,
up at Hallis Hall.
True.
You got to worry about it.
I guess it could be worse. I mean, you could be a professional reporter and actually say one of the biggest players in NFL, today is retiring when there is no real decision.
One of. Really?
Yeah, one of. I mean, think
Tom
about
Brady
it. Will Tom Brady come back for his 68th season?
Unfortunately for Bucs fans, he probably is going to retire. However, they do have a plan in place. You gotta keep faith in Kyle Trask. Oh my Jesus God! What the hell?
The replacement has been groomed in the press box.
Seriously, if the Bucs fans don't realize that Kyle Trask isn't the answer, I don't know what you go in Bucs groups right now, they're talking about potential trades. They're talking about signing free agents. There's rumors of Jimmy Garoppolo coming to Tampa Bay. I
saw that scenario, and it actually,
If Kyle Trask was the answer, we wouldn't have this situation.
Well, the scenario I saw was Brady going to the Niners.
Well,
and then Garoppolo going to Tampa.
He would have to farve it. He would have to retire for a year and then come back, and then he's like,
"Well, that's what I'm curious if he was doing to try to get out of his contract."
But it's a player's option year anyway, so he could easily turn it down. But we got possibly, Brady out. Then you got Sean Payton leaving the Saints. The South is quickly becoming the NFC East.
No, because if Rodgers, I was going to say, if Rodgers leaves, the NFC North's going to say to you guys, hold my beer.
If Brady leaves, if Bucs fans don't realize that Brady leaving, the team just completely implodes and everybody's gone.
Well, yes and no. You have the culture now in the locker room.
You have like 15 people that are up for free agency, ain't it?
Actually, 15 starters are up for free agent.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. No, the list is a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you look at the Bucs roster, you've gotta. You're going to lose Gronk. You're going to lose Brady if that happens, which I fully expect it to. But Leonard Fournette, I think you got to pursue him. You got to bring back Chris Godwin. Ryan Jensen, honestly, I think is someone the Bucs need to bring back. He's your attitude of that offensive line, and that's something huge. But I don't know. It's just a scary situation right now in Tampa.
I think it's going to be a fire sale and everybody's going to leave.
I doubt it.
That way, Jimmy G would have an opportunity. Jimmy G would have an opportunity to be bi-coastally bad.
It would make sense. It would make sense for the Bucs to go after Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers is truly that unhappy, think about this. Aaron Rodgers could go from being the best quarterback in the NFC North, right, to being the only quarterback in the NFC South. That's the only reason Aaron Rodgers has been in so many NFC Championship games is because he has had the cakewalk of the NFC North to take him to the playoffs. I mean, you have the best record in the league because you're playing the Bears twice a year, the Lions twice a year. The Vikings give you trouble every now and then, but repeatedly, that's why he's in the playoff hunt every single year. And he'd be stupid if that scenario arises and he turns it down. That'd be stupid.
I actually think it's an interesting situation just for the simple fact that, if all these rumors about him wanting to go to Denver are there, why would he want to go to a division where it's already got a star-studded lineup of quarterbacks?
Right.
Teams are tough.
I mean, yeah.
Would he even be one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC? I mean, top three? If he goes to the AFC, is he a top three quarterback?
He hasn't had a problem getting to the playoffs. It's performing in the playoffs.
Well, think about who he's played to get into the playoffs.
No, I'm just saying. So, like, even if he goes to a harder division or whatever, okay, he still makes the playoffs. He can't win that big game. That's his history. That's what they're, everybody's saying is it's that loss to the Niners was a career-defining loss.
Right.
And put him out of the legend status and everything unless he goes somewhere else and wins a Super Bowl.
Why not Tampa Bay? He's not going in there.
I think Tampa Bay is going to be garbage next year. It's going to implode.
Even if they do implode.
Well, because people are jumping ship because, that's why Brady doesn't want to come back.
Wide open. But anyway.
If the team was going to be there, Brady would be coming back.
Brady's dad says he's playing. So who knows?
Yeah, I think he's waiting to see how the team fills out and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
I think everyone in the North will be happy, Billy.
I think the city of Chicago will have a celebration once that happens.
I mean, who's going to come out of the North then? What? The Vikings?
It'll be up for grabs, just like the South. The South is going to be up for grabs.
Oh yeah.
Come down to the last 6-6 team going into playoff talk.
What's sad?
Oh, that's right. That's the East. My bad.
What's sad is how weak it's going to make the NFC. In all actuality, if Rodgers were to go to the AFC, I mean, Brady retires. Garoppolo's on his way out. Dak Prescott is going to be the best quarterback in the NFC. I mean, you're a Dallas
coming back.
Yeah, Russell Wilson depends on where he goes.
Jameis
Do you
Winston.
really think? I mean,
Jameis Winston.
Dak Prescott.
What? I mean, that's kind of sad to think about because he can't win a playoff game to save his life either.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Think about how weak the NFC will be.
But
losing. Matt Ryan's on his way out. I mean,
hey, Stout, is it Prescott can't win a game in the playoffs, or is it Mike McCarthy can't win a game in the playoffs?
Or is it just the Cowboys can't win a game in the playoffs?
Madlock asked if Brady doesn't retire, does ESPN fire Adam Schefter? Not a chance.
No.
Give him the hook.
That guy's reliable like a weatherman.
Right.
It's like a broken clock being right twice a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
Ryan, you talked. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I don't think if all that happens with everybody leaving, I mean, what you guys said with McCarthy being the coach and just Dallas being Dallas because of Jerry Jones and then Dak, I think it's a combination of all three. They can't get over that hump. I think once they get over the hump, I think it'll be all right. But they can't even win a playoff game right now. I mean,
here's a question for you.
But I mean, it all swirled around. Well, look, it all swirled around. Jerry Jones made some comments, so it sounded like he didn't want McCarthy as a coach because all Jerry did was wait to see what Sean Payton. I guarantee he talked to Sean Payton, asked him if he even wanted to coach, and Payton probably told him no. And so, let's go back and talk about. I was just being coy when I said all that stuff about McCarthy. No, you weren't. And that's part of the problem with Dallas is our owner, and it will always be until he leaves. So.
Here's a question for you. Do you think that's why Quinn stayed?
I do think that's why Quinn stayed. And I think that's why he's not the coach in Chicago.
Well,
Because
actually,
he knows what might fall, and then he
Yeah.
gets the job.
Oh, I think that's exactly what happens. But like I said, to me and Mike have had this discussion plenty of times. I think Dan Quinn's a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach. I think he did some good things in Atlanta, but I think he's just a better defense. You have coaches that are just better at being coordinators than they are coaches. Josh McDaniels is another one. They're way better off as being coordinators than they are head coaches. I kind of see Quinn staying, but I don't know if Jerry gives him the head coaching job or not. So I think we'll have McCarthy for another year, and then it'll be back to trying to get Sean Payton is what it'll turn into. So. Because I think Dan Quinn likes Sean Payton, so I think it'll work out for him. Because Payton's more of an offensive coordinator and he leaves the defensive alone. Just kind of like what McCarthy does. McCarthy just leaves the coordinators to do what they need to do, and he worries about the offense and the team. That's it. So that's probably why, Jerry.
Sean Payton, he's got to sit out a year, right? Before he can just coach where he wants, because that frees up his contract.
Unless somebody buys his contract, right?
Unless the team's willing to A, trade, or B, buy his contract. Now, if they trade, I don't know how that would affect the cap. I have no idea. I don't remember what the ruling was when they did it with John Gruden in Tampa. But
it's probably all changed since then.
Yeah, everything's changed. But
yeah,
what would you give up to get a Sean Payton? Is he worth bringing in? Does Dallas have the players to fit the scheme he wants to run? I mean, those are all questions that.
No, because Sean Payton wants to win.
But anyway,
Jerry, we have the players. We need a new owner. Is what the problem is. It's been that way since Romo was there. It's the owner. It's the problem with the owner and who's in charge and who's not. So,
can we trade ownership? Can that be done in the NFL?
I don't know. You just stick with yours. It's one of Jerry's
can't
step
ship
above
expired
the
goods.
You guys wait a couple years; they're both going to be gone anyway.
Wow.
I mean,
I've been saying that for 5 years, and he's still around, Mike.
Well, if the Simpsons keep creating shows, Monty Burns is going to live forever, Mike.
I know.
Tell me that's not Monty Burns. Jerry Jones.
No, it is.
Well, I mean, the bad thing is that it's just going to get passed down through his family, so just another Jones will take over.
Davis's son's doing all right with his 5-head bowl haircut. I mean,
Stephen Jones. If you look back at the draft, Stephen Jones has been making most of the draft picks. Jerry's still the final stamp, but Stephen's been making the draft picks for the past 5 years now, over 5 years. And look at who they picked up in the draft. So it comes down to ownership and coaching. What it comes down to, I mean, you can't talk bad about your coach one week and then try to go get another coach and it doesn't work out and be like, oh, I was just kidding. I mean, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the main problem. And it's what everybody says. He's in charge as a player. Everybody knows he's in charge. The coach has no authority whatsoever. It's been that way for years. It's been that way since Jimmy Johnson left, all the way back in the 90s. He's in charge. The coach ain't in charge. So the coach doesn't have any pull to do anything. So how do you coach that like that?
So, Andy, would you give up a couple first-round picks if you're the Bears?
Well, give me a couple years, I can answer that question.
Oh my God, what a mess! What a mess did he leave for Cole?
Well, I think it's one of those things where I don't want to say it's going to be an absolute just train wreck this first year. I don't want to say that because I still think they're going to go undefeated, of course, 36-0. However, there's going to be a caveat to that scenario in the fact that it might end up being an absolute utter train wreck. I mean, our friend Mr. Stout here is familiar with that lately. He's had some bad luck on your end. But it's just one of those things where I think there's going to be a very, very big, huge learning curve. Poles is new. Eberflus, first-time head coach, that kind of thing. You're going to have Geddes. I think this is the first time he's going to be an offensive coordinator. So you're going to have and it might be a scenario where it's going to be like what we were just talking about, like a Sean McVay, where you come in, you want to prove yourself. Next thing you know, you're undefeated. I don't see that being the case, but it would be nice for sure on the Bears side.
Will the Bears make the playoffs within 5 years? That's honestly where you got to look at it. You got to
it depends on what goes on in Green Bay.
You got to give them 5 years to get to it, right?
I don't know. You had a couple of coaches this year that ended up getting fired. Flores, for example, in Miami, who ended up getting fired after a year? Not even a full year.
Yeah, but he rubbed people the wrong way down there. You can't fight with your ownership and GM like he did and expect it to be okay. You can't tell Tua you should have picked Jones, and expect no repercussions.
Do you guys think, speaking of coaches moving and stuff, do you think that Pete Carroll retires or does he go somewhere else?
You wait a couple of years, he's going to be with McCaskey and Jones.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, you think he's looking for another team, or
I'm like the Grim Reaper up here. It's taking people out.
Yeah.
I think Carroll's done. I do. I think if Wilson leaves, he gives it one more year just to see what he could do, and then he's gone. If he doesn't leave, if Wilson leaves, so I think it all depends on his quarterback leaving, of if he retires or not.
Wilson might end up in Tampa.
I know we're going to be doing like a different draft show and stuff like that, but I mean, you also have a whole bunch of new talent that's coming in next year. So you might not necessarily, you might not look to give Wilson
a quarterback.
Yeah, not this year. Not this year's draft a quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback this year is way down.
Pitts, and that's it.
I mean, Jimmy G's not a great quarterback, and he's in the playoffs.
That's exactly
how watered down the league has gotten.
I mean, seriously. I mean, he manages the game, and he's got his team sitting in the NFC Championship.
No, that defense does.
Second time in 3 years.
The defense does. Again, it's the defense. It's not.
You can't take away from the fact that he's been very Dilfer-esque. He's managed the game well. He's not costing them big. He got lucky not last week, but against Green Bay. There were 4 interceptions. One that could have went to the house.
Pick sixes. There was 4 of them.
Right. That were just dropped on the turf.
Or the guy didn't even look at it. Oh, man. Yeah, there was
managing the game, and he's not hurting them yet. Can he do it one more week? That's how they got to look at it. You give him one more week. But anyway, let's get into the whole Green Bay. I mean, not Green Bay. What's that team in the Buck? No. No. Cowboys? No. Rams. Let's get into the Rams. All right. So we're going to go back to something we used to do on the Who's Your Crew back, God, when I first started doing this, it feels like years ago. It was only weeks ago, but we're going to go to who gets the nod. So let's start it off. We got Jimmy G, Matthew Stafford.
Stafford.
We're going to go right down the line here. Andy, I'll let you voice your opinions either way and tell us who you think gets the nod, and we'll tally up who overall we think is going to pull it off on paper, not really on the field. So, in your opinion, who's the better quarterback here?
Stafford. So Stafford, I think, is a little bit better for several reasons. He certainly has more experience.
Okay.
Even in like a playoff type of scenario, I think he has more experience. He has more command of the field. I mean, that's not to say that Jimmy G doesn't can't read defenses or anything like that, but Stafford just all around is just a better quarterback to me in this particular scenario. With that being said, you do have that defense in San Francisco. They're gonna give up the first 7 points in the first 30 seconds of the game, but then they're gonna clamp down. So I just think that St. Louis, oh my goodness, St. Louis, excuse me, the LA Rams, I think is going to end up pulling this one out, in my opinion. So
yeah,
you have just as strong a defense on LA.
As far as playoff experience, so Jimmy G's got him. I mean, by far. This year Stafford's got the edge, but overall playoff experience.
This is Stafford's first year in the playoffs, period, isn't it?
Right. If Stafford continues to duplicate performance of recent weeks and not the regular season and controls turnovers, I think the Rams have too much firepower.
Well, let me ask you this one. Do you ever notice that like Matthew Stafford has that kind of that gunslinger mentality, of course, but he just doesn't seem to be afraid to throw that interception. He might be able to sneak something in there, but for some reason, I think that Jimmy G still has that apprehension. He doesn't want to do anything that's going to cost the game. But Matthew Stafford kind of like the devil may care kind of a thing.
Yeah, Stafford's definitely more Favre-esque, whereas Jimmy G honestly is a carbon copy of Tom Brady without the arm strength. But so you're going Stafford?
I'm absolutely going Stafford.
All right, Brian. Who you got?
I'm going Stafford as well, and I mean just kind of bounce off what Andy said. I mean, you play to win the game, but there's two different ways. You've got the gunslinger mentality, and then you've got the game manager mentality. Obviously, I do agree about the Garoppolo, but having more playoff experience. He's been there. He's been to the Super Bowl. With Stafford, this is his first open road trip to basically being on the cusp of doing something that could end up defining his career. To me, the talent wise, to me, Stafford, if we're going on paper, Stafford on paper is the better quarterback.
Right on. Mike, I already know your answer because you hate the Niners so much, but I mean, honestly, who do you believe is the better quarterback here?
I'm gonna surprise you, and I'm gonna tell you Jimmy G is because I want Jerry to feel. I'm just kidding. Stafford's way better.
Yeah,
Stafford's way better. And
I think
here's the thing: if I don't even want to pick between these two, the thing is we should have put the defense up there because it's going to be a defensive game. But if I had to choose,
we'll get there.
It's a slight edge for Stafford just because he likes to, throw the ball a little bit too much in situations I don't like. But Jimmy G, I mean, after last week, kind of proved, it didn't matter who you had there.
Got the W.
Up there as the quarterback for San Francisco, I'd pick whoever was the other quarterback anyways. If it was Justin Fields, I would have put Justin Fields over there.
Kyle Trask.
I would have picked him. I would have picked Kyle Trask. Hands down, Kyle Trask. I would have picked him because he's the Buck savior.
All right, Jer. Mike's going Stafford. Realistically, where are you leaning?
Realistically, if you look at who is going to do a better job of their role, I'm going Garoppolo. He's a game manager. He's going to go out and he's going to manage the game. He's going to do that. He's not going to have the, oh my God, he nailed that throw or that was an awesome play or whatever. He's going to do what he's supposed to do, and he's better at doing that than Stafford.
Yeah, but Stafford. All right.
Whatever.
So let's go to running back. Now, this is unique for both teams because Mitchell is listed as the Niners running back, but they use Samuel just about as much as they do use Mitchell. And then you got Sony Michel starting for the Rams, supposedly, but Cam Akers is more explosive and has been far better in recent weeks. So taking that into consideration, we've got two potential running backs for each team. Andy, where are you leaning with this?
I gotta go with Akers. I really do. So
I like Akers too.
Yeah,
he's just flat out explosive.
He's got his things, but I gotta say, Cam Akers is definitely my guy in this case.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, you
his
can't.
Explosive plays.
I know. Listed as a running back is Samuel. I mean, but he's a wide receiver, right? So, I mean, obviously they're creating offensive plays for their stud on the team.
You know what it is Samuel is the wish version of Cordero Patterson.
I would argue that he's doing better than Cordero Patterson.
I just did that to get on your nerves, Jared. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
But if we're going strictly on the running back, Akers is just explosive. And I mean, it's amazing the work he put in just to get back to play in the playoffs. I mean, that just goes to show you the dedication that he really wanted to be a part of something special. Yeah. But just looking at all the running backs, in my opinion, it's Akers.
He surprisingly has great hands. Like Cam Akers at Florida State, he would catch the ball out of the backfield, but he didn't do anything big.
Oh.
Like you wouldn't see the big bang play from him as a receiver. And he's doing well at that this year. And he's only been back, 2 weeks now? So you're going to Akers, Stout? Where are you leaning here? Let me just put the check mark over here on the Rams side.
You just
go ahead.
You guys just sit back. You guys just sit back and relax and enjoy this. I'm actually going to go with the 49ers backfield, and I'm going to tell you why. Mr. Mitchell has saved me a lot during fantasy season this year, and I'm telling you what, the running game for San Francisco is way better than the Rams, hands down. And I hate to say it, it hurts my soul to say it, but it's true. That running game is way better in San Francisco than it is in LA. So that hurts me. I might have to go and take a break here in a minute because I can't even speak very well right now because I had to say that. So
did not see that coming. Got to move that check mark over here.
Wow.
All right. Yeah.
That hurts. That hurts a lot.
I mean, I agree with Stout. It's you gotta look at the line and the running game there. Yeah, that hurts me to say that I agree with you. But I mean, you have to look at the entire running game, and yeah, I think the Niners get the nod there. And then you want to talk explosive. I mean, Deebo Samuel in the backfield is unreal. I mean, last week they had Williams pulling. I mean, come on, 350 pounds rumbling down the line as in motion. I mean, get the hell out of the way.
Rumbling, stumbling.
So yeah, Niners nod.
Niners get the nod from Jerry. Okay, now unfairly, we're gonna go wide receiver, and we're only gonna do two because whatever. We got Samuel and Ayuk for the Niners, and we got a cup of OBJ for the Rams. Andy.
I'd probably have to. I don't know. Can I split those up and say both? Only because you have both of those. Cup, for example, he's always going to get his. Of course, Samuel, for example, he's always going to get his. You have to kind of sort of mitigate their yakking. Is basically what you have to mitigate. And
yak.
So yep, no yakking for these two guys. But but they're definitely going to get their catches, and I'd have to say give them half point each. So that's
my thing is this, sorry, not to interrupt you, but like last week with the Bucs playing the Rams, and everyone's like, "How do you let Kupp get open? He's the best receiver in the league." That's how you let Kupp get open. He's the best receiver in the league. You're not going to contain him the whole game. He's going to get his yardage. Now, 70 on one play, 65 on another, that's kind of, outlandish, or 45 on another is kind of outlandish, but he's going to get his yardage. So you're going washed here, Andy?
Yeah, I'd have to say, because like I said, each one of those, Samuel on one side, you got Kupp on the other side, they're going to get theirs, and you just have to mitigate what they do after the fact. And so if you can actually do that, there you go.
All right.
LA 49ers, we'll go with that. How about that?
Why are we putting that up there? Why are you going to bother putting it up?
Because it blocks Jerry's face, and it's funny to me. All right, Brian.
You know what? I agree with Andy. I think this is a wash. I think if you're judging by talent, I mean, obviously Cooper Kupp is statistically the best receiver in football, but Debo is, in my opinion, just as good. And it just boils down to what's the comparison with Ayuk and OBJ? I mean, and honestly, it's kind of an interesting thing. I think today's game is going to be impacted by Ayuk or OBJ. I think that's going to be whoever does better today is out of those two making a big catch, or maybe it's one of those touchdowns that you just didn't see coming from one of those two. I mean, understandably, the run, San Francisco's a running team, but if in terms of receiver, I don't know. I can't call it, because it's, to me, I think both wide receiving cores are almost equal. So I'm calling a wash.
Well, let me interject this. If you watch Collinsworth as the Bucs game last week, he raved on how well Cooper Kupp was at blocking. Like, that's going to affect the running game. But what people fail to realize is the San Francisco 49ers wide receivers are like pulling guards with hands, and they block.
Right.
They block down the field. They crack hard. I mean, they block the entire game. And I think that might be the impact. And if I were voting on this, I might lean to the Niners. But you go wash?
I go wash.
Stout.
Did you just quote the guy that says, "Here's the guy," like 20 times a game?
That's
my question.
He did.
I mean, seriously, that's what you're referencing.
Here's a guy.
And then
This guy right here.
And then got his kid a job that can't, hold you're better at it than he is. I mean, let's just say that.
But whatever.
Okay.
Let's go.
The receiving core, just talking receiving, is the Rams better receiving core.
All right, we'll go Rams.
I'm not
short, sweet, and to the point. Give them the nod.
What else do you want? I mean, they do everything. I mean, I know San Francisco does the same thing, but you got Samuel and Kupp, and we keep on comparing the two. But if you just look at receiving wise, who's the best? Who should be getting the MVP this year? Let's be honest.
I agree. I said that last week.
It should be Cooper Kupp. So there's your answer. The Rams got it better just because of that right there.
All right.
Though they're similar and everything, but that's why the Rams get the nod for me.
Jared.
Niners all dead. OBJ is old and washed up, and he sucks. He's in his first playoff appearance here too, right? This is his first time in a championship game.
Yeah. But I mean,
and on top of it,
in the last 6 weeks.
On top of it, if you got Cooper Kupp, he's got all this yardage. Oh my God, great! That's all the Rams do is throw the ball. So you put Samuel in that offense, you know how many yards he's going to have? Because he's getting yak. The Niners don't throw the ball that much. Right. And he still got ridiculous amount of yardage.
You said the Niners, and then you said, well, because they pass all the time, so that would mean the Rams have better wide receivers.
No. No.
But so Jerry's going Niners.
You,
All right.
yeah.
Now here's one I think that is honestly a landslide, but tight end. I mean, we got Kittle and Higbee. Higbee's not a slouch tight end. Starter on every team in the league except for maybe San Francisco, Kansas City. He'd probably start in Tampa now. But, I mean, where you leaning, Andy?
Oh, we got to go with Kittle for a couple of reasons. If you remember that thing that I actually sent in Messenger earlier, big Bears fan, Duh Bears. So, heck of a player. He can block, he can catch, he can kind of do it all. He's like a big wide receiver, and that's pretty much how they kind of use him.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that if Jimmy G were able to get the ball to him a little bit more, kind of like a Cooper Kupp kind of a thing, it very well may be they might be the difference makers. I mean, we're talking literal difference maker, boom, where he's going to actually win you the game, that kind of thing. Because if you're watching running back, you're watching wide receiver, your tight ends are going to win you the game. So I definitely have to go with San Francisco on this one.
Brian.
Yes, Kittle. The dude's ridiculous. And it's kind. I didn't want to poke fun at Andy, but just remember, you guys drafted Adam Shaheen over Kittle.
There's a few things the Bears did that they,
Trubisky over
and
Bosa.
Trubisky over Watson and Mahomes.
Yeah. But no, I mean, Kittle is just ridiculous. I mean, the dude plays with a fire, and he's awesome. I mean, for everyone who passed on him in the draft, I mean, he's made a lot of GMs look pretty stupid. But yeah, I'm going Niners on this one.
All right.
Let's just go to the next topic. I think we know where this is going.
Oh, it's Kittle. How hard is it? We're all going to check the box, Kittle. I mean, let's just move down.
All right,
Jerry,
so
take my
defense.
other 2 minutes.
This
Jerry,
is where it's going to get close right here,
Well,
right?
The one thing that I wanted to point out is that last year and early in the season this year, Kittle was Garoppolo's safety blanket. Whenever there was a big play or whenever there was, he was in distress or whatever, it always went to Kittle. That hasn't been happening the back half of this season. Kittle, I think in the Cowboys game was targeted once. I think he was only targeted like 3 times against Green Bay. And he used to just be everything was to Kittle. And so I think if they kind of bring him back into the game as, a target, that could be a difference maker today.
Right on.
But yeah, Kittle.
All right. So defensively, let's go front 7. Now, the Rams front 7 is pretty thick.
We can do O-line?
We will. But Stouts wants to go defense.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Didn't you hear him? His whole
His
whole reason for picking Jimmy.
I don't listen to him, so sorry.
His whole reason for picking Matt Stafford was defense. I mean, So you might as well let's get into something we're actually going to debate a little bit.
All right, let's go.
So we have the Rams. You got I don't know, Aaron Donald. Ever heard of him?
Who?
It's a little good.
Huh?
Not in week 18.
Floyd. It's pretty solid. They got that Von Miller cat. He's decent. He's going against the Niners. I don't think they have anybody worth mentioning. So we'll just see. Andy, where are you leaning with front 7?
Defensively, that's actually a little bit closer than I would have thought, but I'm definitely have to go with the Rams. So you do have Aaron Donald, who's incredibly active, and you might be able to actually get by with one offensive lineman every now and again, but if you put him one-on-one with any offensive lineman, he's going to eat him up.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about last week, he's small enough to be able to get underneath those pads, and he's strong enough to be able to move that guy just any old way that he wants to, just to be able to get to the quarterback, running back, just to be a disruption. Von Miller, Ndamukong Suh, I mean, you name it, even their secondary is relatively solid. So if they can actually get to Jimmy G, that's going to be a long day for Jimmy. We'll see how it goes, but I'd have to go with the LA Rams.
Okay. Bosa's no slouch.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Rams it is. All right, Brian.
But that's it. That's it.
Rams, and to me, it's the Rams, and honestly, just what I just whatever Andy said is basically what I'm saying. I mean, I don't want to take up too much time on this.
All right. Stout, where are you leaning with this? This is where you wanted to really pull out the gun, so pull them out.
Well, it's going to be defensive game, dude. It
I
is.
agree.
Both defenses are really good, and it's going to come down to who makes the most mistakes and who wins. But I think 49ers going to make more mistakes, and I think the Rams defense is a little bit better, just a little bit, not by much. But I think the Rams defense is a little bit better, and it comes down to who makes the least amount of mistakes, and I think the Rams will make the least amount of mistakes going forward during this game. But
all right, Jerry,
I
my
mean,
Niner apologist.
Crazy. You guys are all crazy. So
here we go.
Yeah, time to start tailgating. Okay. All right.
Get that
Anyway,
fire.
so the Niners, we're not going to go about names here. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Funny. Haha. We're not going to go about names of who and everything else because in week 18, you didn't even see Aaron Donald. You didn't see Von Miller. They weren't making any plays. You guys are all picking a defense that gave up a win to the Niners when they were up 17-3 at half. This is a defense that let the Bucs come back from what to tie it? I mean, come on. And then you're going against a defense that has walked in to LA, beat them. Walked in to Dallas, beat them. Walked into Lambeau in the snow, California team, beat them. Come on. You guys are all crazy. Get the hell out of here.
So are you leaning
Rams? No.
What do you think?
No. Niners. Come on.
All right.
I don't know why are we asking him questions? He's going to pick the 49ers for everything. He does it all the time. Don't
You're
even bother.
talking about next year's your year and you're going to the Super Bowl.
So now we're going to get into it
I didn't.
let's look at the offensive side of the trench there. Whitworth is back for the Rams, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Their left tackle. Ain't that his last name, Whitworth?
Whitworth. Yeah, Whitworth.
Right. I mean, that man's a mountain. He's been doing it well for 11 years now? So where are we leaning with the offensive line? I mean, they're built completely different. The Rams are built to pass block. The Niners are built to run block. They're both facing outstanding defenses. So, Andy, what are you thinking here?
We can always put up the injury reports if you like. I think there's a few extra injuries on San Francisco, unfortunately, than LA. But as far as offensive line, you're absolutely right. They're built completely differently, only because of the fact of the way that you have a San Francisco who's kind of sort of based a little bit more on. You want San Francisco?
Yeah, we can do that.
So this, of course, according to ESPN.com, that is. The team that's based on as opposed to the pass, which essentially means that their defense or their offensive line is going to be geared towards that. Conversely, you have a pass defense. So overall defense with pass and with run, I'm going to have to lean on San Francisco for this one. LA, of course, has some major pluses, but we're going to have to go with San Francisco on this one for all around, really.
All right, so you're going offensive line of San Francisco.
Of San Francisco.
Okay. Brian.
Yeah, this is – yeah, you're right. They're two different offensive lines. Obviously, you're more pass-oriented with the Rams. You're more run-based with the Niners. I'm going to go with the Niners just for the simple fact that the run game is key for them, and you have to have an unbelievable offensive line to have a good run game. And I think especially when you've watched them recently. I mean, in order to win those games, you've got to limit mistakes. You've got to limit getting the quarterback hit. You got to limit all that stuff. And to be able to be a run first offense, you've got to have a great offensive line that's gonna create the holes, make sure the timing's right on everything, including with the quarterback. I mean, to me, I think that I'm gonna give the nod to the Niners on this.
All right, Stout.
It's a wash, dude.
All right,
Give it a wash.
I can see that, and I can also see going Niners with it. But Jerry,
Niners. They have the ability to take over the game.
Right. So I'm going to give you my reason I'm picking the Niners with the offensive line, and it's pretty simple. Is running the ball wears on a defensive line. If you can enforce your will on a defensive line, you've won half the game. So I really think it's going to go to the Niners on that, and I think that's why they keep beating the Rams is the fact that they established the run, and they prove that they don't need to pass.
The big difference maker today is going to be, I mean, he's listed as questionable. Trent Williams, he's already said that he's going to play. Nobody's stopping him from playing, and they didn't have him in Week 18 when they came out in the second half and ran all over the Rams. So it's scary.
Yeah. So normally we do defensive backfield, but like when we did the Bucs never had a secondary, so we didn't do it. We're not going to do it with this because there's no one going to compare with Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, the Niners secondary is the weakest point.
Right. So, Andy, you have a point to make?
Well, I was just wondering that the fact that you had the LA Rams, of course, because they pass a lot. I think they actually geared their defense towards a lot of passing. And so now when you have a San Francisco that comes in and kind of runs the ball down your throat, I think that's where they actually kind of struggle a little bit. And you're absolutely right in the fact that you're gonna wear those guys down until, late third quarter, early fourth quarter. They're like, okay, I need a minute, guys. And then you're going to be constantly so. And that's why I think San Francisco offensive line is actually going to be, I don't want to say dominant, but I think they're going to eventually establish their overall in that game. It's going to lead potentially to a closer game, but we'll see. We'll see, because you still need that passing. You still need that passing. Open up the run.
The advantage here is warm climate. You're not having to really worry about the cold. You're not gonna, have to worry about the ball being hard or anything like that. It's both teams are going to be able to throw.
They're playing at Southern Levi Stadium. Yeah.
So no. So without having to worry about the weather, really, both teams are going to have their full offense. My issue is, like I told you last week, Jerry, if the Rams come out and they explode and they're putting up points, it's only going to take 2 stops to pretty much take San Francisco out of the game. However, even though we've picked the Rams, when who gets the nod, we've all voted Rams except for Jerry, maybe twice. But I'm leaning Niners. I really think the Niners control the clock, control the tempo of the game, force the Rams to have to score. And if you get Stafford moving and you got Bosa who's fast enough to catch him, I mean, I don't know. I told you last week I would run the man zone against Stafford, run and blitz up the center. Bucs were doing it with success. The only thing that beat the Bucs is the lack of communication and the safety falling down. And the fact that the refs never spotted the ball on the last play. But we're not going to get into that. I'm not blaming the refs. So anyway, I got Niners by 6. Andy, what you got going here? Let's hear some of your thoughts on today's game.
I think when the time expires at the very end, I have a feeling that the Rams are going to be 10-point victors. Because I will say, it's probably going to be like 30-20 kind of a thing, only because of the fact that, the offensive line for San Francisco is going to dominate a little bit on the interior after halftime. But you still have to open up that passing game. And, of course, with Odell Beckham as well as Cooper Kupp. You might have just a little bit too much firepower, especially with a quarterback who passes more. And that's, in all honesty, Jimmy G, of course, is a professional quarterback, and he, of course, has his skill set. But I think in this particular case, I do have a feeling that Matthew Stafford and the Rams are gonna prevail on this one.
Brian.
The one thing I'm interested to see the matchup between Debo and Jalen Ramsey. That could be interesting, just because of the fact we all know Ramsey's a great corner. Debo has done some amazing things, and it makes you wonder: will Debo be more of a running back today than a wide receiver? And to Jerry's point, could it be a Kittle game where he finally shows up, they start targeting him more because of the fact, you line up Debo as a receiver, you've got Ramsey, and he's just great. I don't know. I've been back and forth on this, and it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. But
ask the Saints.
Yeah, but
the last
the
6.
Niners are just right now. They're just on this team on a mission, and I've gone against them basically a lot because I don't think they're, to me. I don't think, if you look at the team on paper, they don't make you go, wow, this team is awesome. They're just a damn good football team, and they play for their coach. They play for each other. I think this game will be very close. I think you're looking at about a 3 to 5 point victory, and I'm gonna go Niners.
Stout.
Someone's a little bitter up there in Green Bay.
I'm not bitter. I just think the Niners are on a mission.
It's going to come down to the defense, and I think the final score is going to be 2017. It's going to come down to late field goal, and the Rams win. Just because it's hard, like what Brian said, it's hard to beat a team 3 times a year. I know it's been done, and the 49ers do have the Rams. They know how to beat them, but I think they're just something about the playoffs that come down that something magical happens, and that's what gives the Rams the edge over winning. But with me saying that, if they don't win, I mean, it looks bad with how much they've gotten up to just try to get to the Super Bowl. And they lose to the 49ers, who basically are just a old-fashioned football team. I mean, it looks bad on the Rams organization if they lose this. But Rams by 3, just because I don't like Jerry.
And Jerry.
I mean, they've been saying that this is the biggest game of Sean McVay's career, and it absolutely is. You guys said you can't beat a team 3 times, or it's hard to beat a team 3 times. That's true, but when we did Who Gets the Nod, we didn't talk about coaches, and Shanahan has McVay's number time and time again, just like he has LaFleur's number. And I don't know what it is. They all coach together underneath his dad, but it's like he went on and was like, yeah, I know everything that those guys know, and learn more. And he knows exactly what they're going to do. The game plan and schemes that he comes up with in that offense are insane. He motion 75% of the time. The defense can't ever get set. They don't know what they're going up against. So I see the Niners winning this. I don't want to predict the score. Niners are winning.
Right on. Any closing thoughts, Jared? We're going to go back around reverse order. You got anything to close us with? Stout?
Yeah, the Niners suck.
All right. Brian, you got anything?
Enjoy the offseason.
Real quick, it'll be interesting to see the crowd in LA today. How many
Yeah.
Niners fans will show up? If there's a lot of crowd noise when the Rams offense is on, that could be a factor. And just remember, the Rams have all the pressure on them right now. The Niners really don't.
Andy.
So to prevent the over 3,000 messages from Jerry updating us about every little minute detail on San Francisco, let's go Rams.
All right.
Oh, did you hear Jimmy G broke a shoelace? Come on, man.
Hey,
Well,
sorry, my team's relevant.
so anyway, if you enjoyed today's show, please floss, follow, like, and share. I'd like to thank all of our families and our wives and whatnot for allowing us to have an hour to be dumbasses here on the stream. So till then, good luck, Niners. Gotta hate the Rams. And we'll see you next week.
Go Niners. Cowboys suck.